Yes, Kavita, we can start.
Thank you, sir, and very, very warm welcome to this August gathering here today. We are at our final home run or home stretch rather of our dissemination series under the Empowered Group 3 of Subgroup 2. And it is my honor and privilege to be here and welcome all of the dignitaries here today on behalf of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and to express our most sincere gratitude to all of the leading lights in the obstetrics and gynecology care in this country who are here to shed their wisdom to us today. I will not take too much time because we want to really hear from all of the best of the best, and we have several members of CQ who are all joining this also who would like to hear from folks. So may I please turn this over to Professor Ashok Deorari, HOD at the Almy Institute of Medical Sciences, who is also the convener for this extremely important subgroup work that we are doing. So over to you, please, to share the vision, the mission of what we were charged with as a few months ago. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kavita. So on behalf of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, Director Professor Guleria, from Government of India, Ministry of Health and DOPT, and Ministry of Labor and Employment. Welcome to all the experts who have contributed for development of all the lessons. Under the able leadership of FOGSI President Dr. Shanta Kumari and Professor Neerja Badla, who is the head of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at AIIMS, New Delhi. Today, we are launching the lessons. The 7th thematic group for pregnant women, how to care for the women during the COVID-19 pandemic. Empowered Group 3, the subgroup 2 was mandated with the task of creating e-lessons for 7 thematic areas, namely for adults, mothers, children, newborn, nurses, Ayush and allied health services, and the frontline workers. And we are so happy to see that each lesson which is created by the experts, which numbered 147 all across 7 thematic areas, are very easy to comprehend, pictorial, evidence-based, peer review, and these are contextual, made for India, for Indian situation, and from the learning of wave 1 and wave 2. So these are totally contextual and they are useful for frontline workers, and they are going to be available in vernacular languages. We are very sure these will ensure care with quality and dignity to COVID patients at the remotest place in the country. Also, these lessons ensure that the essential family planning services and antenatal services are continued in a quality manner. Lessons are relevant not only for nurses, which are created by the obstetrician, but for all the medical officers, because these are very simple to be applied at the peripheral district hospital and even in all medical colleges. And I'm very sure the lessons which are created by the newborn groups also are very relevant for the obstetrician. Our vision is to convert these on a learning management platform and use them for blended learning for healthcare professionals by doing face-to-face teaching learning for the skills at low cost simulated centers, which will be next to dedicated COVID hospital in the medical colleges or in the districts. With these words, I hand over back to Kavita.
Thank you, sir. So just for some of you who are new to this, we have been playing this tennis game for a few weeks now, which is between Dr. Deorari and me, trying to get all the various experts together. I also have to say that we are very proud of, sort of how well we have used technology. We've really learned and emerged and grown over the last few weeks. But it is such a pleasure. There is a group of us sitting at the ministry. There are people sitting in some other rooms. All of you are all over the country. We have the tech studio at AIIMS, and of course, Dr. Guleria has joined us. Thank you, sir. So I think between everybody, the ability to be able to connect and actually do this and have a bunch of viewers who are watching us on YouTube is truly an amalgamation of what technology has taught us during COVID. And it's and really, it's happy to see this going. So thank you all for agreeing to be here and taking the time. Again, in order to echo Dr. Devari's words, I think one of the things we heard and we learned consistently during this pandemic is that this pandemic doesn't understand public versus private sector, versus doesn't understand rich versus poor. Access was either equally or unequally, towards all. And so one of the important things that we have understood and we really have to take forward from this pandemic is that the private and the public sector have to work together, and these lessons have to make its way all the way down to the last mile, to the blocks, to the villages, to the panchayats, to the hospitals and to the care centers at the last level. Otherwise, we really haven't done our job. And Dr. Devari and me had a long discussion with the convener, the new chairman of the EG3 who was taken charge yesterday. And this was really sort of our next step. And for that, we cannot really ask upon anyone better than Professor Dr. Shanta Kumari, who joined us today. I know she has a very busy schedule. And thank you, madam, for taking the time, but also for being extremely responsive, cooperative, and sort of just, coming on board to get all of the experts from your large position that you have. So, ma'am, I will turn this over to you so you can share your thoughts with us, and we really look forward to your support to spreading this among all the professionals in your organization. Thank you, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Batla and Professor Dr. Ashok Deora and all the other seniors who have joined this meeting. I think this initiative is a wonderful initiative. Has taught us that we definitely need to look into some ways and means where we can have the perfect learning points handed over to our colleagues in a very simple and easy manner. At the same time, we maintain the standard, so that this particular protocols, where when we have made the reading material on the COVID and its protocols, I think what we need to understand is the message which we are going to tell our members, be it in the private or the public sector. It has to be the one single message which has to go. And I really appreciate this initiative, and I'm sure that this particular program is going to be an example for future endeavors, so that we can use the same module for dissemination of more such informations and guidelines to all the members. So I really would like to thank all the members of this particular group who have made these modules, and especially appreciate the effect of Dr. Ashok Deora and Dr. Nirja Batla and Dr. Aparna Sharma and others. And I'm sure that Foxy members will benefit a lot out of this reading material. Thank you very much. And let's hope that we can actually use this module in future for other issues which we face in OB-GYN practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those short but succinct but very, very empowering comments, I'm sure, for all the people within your fraternity. And I think you very well mentioned that, this is not just for COVID. I mean, I think COVID is part of it. But so many of the skills and competencies that we have listed here, in fact, yesterday we were having this discussion on, one of the things that IGOT, the Integrated Government Online Training Platform that we will hear from the director who joined us today from the OPT, is the fact that it is really a framework-based model. So what we have is, what we like to call it in IGOT, at least, is a track model for the larger, it will actually be the way in which performance will be assessed for everybody working in government. That's the vision. Similarly, I think what we hope is that we can take this template and use it not just for COVID, but for actual skill building and competency building. So many different skills in OB-GYN care, but in several other areas as well. So that's really been our aim, ma'am. So I think the point very well taken. So this work actually doesn't stop. Today we can't just disseminate and say it's over. It's actually only begun. So a lot of expectations and support anticipated from your end, ma'am. And without any further ado, may I please request
the leading light. And sir, I have to mention this to you. Yesterday, we had so much appreciation from the EG3 chairman, the new Secretary Labor and Employment, who has taken this forward, who has actually read through a report. And we really he conveys his appreciation and their deep, deep gratitude for this large body of work. And I don't think, as an organization or as a ministry, we could have taken this on, because when we were asked this earlier, it was very clear that if we have an AIIMS backing us in terms of implementing this, then I know that we could have, gone ahead and done this. So, sir, we are extremely grateful, obviously, for your time that you've been giving us every week to come in here and address each of these various groups. And we're pretty much close to the end of this. We have just one more group of frontline workers. Sir, without any further ado, may I please request you to share your vision, your thoughts for what you see coming. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Dr. Ashok Dirari, President, Head Department of Pediatrics, and the what I would say is the main working force behind what has been done by this group. Dr. Shanta Kumari, President, Foxy. Thank you, ma'am, for all your all your cooperation and the support. Shrimati Jayanti Angar Karmi, who is the Deputy Secretary in DOPT. Dr. Nirja Batla, who's heading this thematic area. My faculty colleagues, other dignitaries on this this program, Ms. Kavita Narayan, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm very happy to be here. I've been with all the thematic sessions that were there, and I really appreciate the extensive work that has been done. The commitment is truly remarkable because the group has covered areas which are so diverse, from neonatology to pregnancy to frontline workers to looking at adults and managing critically ill COVID patients. They have tried in a simple manner to be able to give this message through modules, the e-modules, and have worked hard to make sure that they're evidence-based and the delivery is as simple as possible so that they can reach out to everyone who is interested in providing care for COVID. And as Dr. Dirari said, there is also the whole issue of trying to have blended learning so that there is interest and it can be done in a manner that stays with the person who has gone through these programs, and it helps in also generating a certificate. I think this is one area that is being discussed today, caring for pregnant females and mothers during COVID-19, which is very, very important. In the early part of the pandemic, there was this feeling that pregnant women are not as affected as others, and the focus was not that much on pregnant women. Although we had seen from H1N1 that pregnancy was a very high risk group for causing severe morbidity and mortality, but that focus seemed to have shifted during COVID-19, and it was felt that in pregnancy, pregnant women don't get this severe disease. This, however, was actually not true. And subsequent studies, the last study that I recollect is the inter-COVID multinational cohort study. It was published in JAMA Pediatrics, which showed clearly that pregnant women who got COVID had high maternal morbidity and mortality, and there was even worse neonatal outcomes. So I think it's very clear that pregnant women with COVID have higher risk of hospitalization and severe disease for multiple reasons. Pregnancy itself, physiological reasons also, and therefore there is a need for us to really focus on this group. And I'm very glad that this thematic area has been developed by experts and in both from the public sector and from the private sector. There's also a need to really see how we can move forward, not only for for pregnancy in COVID women, but pregnancy in general, because a meta-analysis published in the Lancet, which looked at the effect of pandemic on maternal and perinatal outcomes, clearly showed that during the pandemic, there was a poorer outcome even in women who were not having COVID because of the effects of the pandemic per se. And therefore, there is a need for us to develop safe, accessible, and equitable maternity care. And who else then Foxy can really take this forward? Therefore, I would really urge all the members today to really see how they can take these modules right to the grassroots level so that every woman who is pregnant is given quality care, which is equitable, and we make sure that pandemic or no pandemic, COVID or no COVID, they are really protected and are provided good quality care. Vaccination also has now come in, and we must push for that also. There was a lot of reluctance, I remember, when we pushed for the H1N1 vaccine way back in 2009 and 10. And now also there was a little reluctance, but now vaccine has been approved, and we must move forward to get pregnant women vaccinated as part of a routine process. Today, the emergency use authorization has also been given to Covaxin for children from the age of 2 to 18 years. So that will also be very useful as far as the younger age group is concerned. So I'm sure that this module that has been developed would be very useful and is urgently needed in our country to be able to provide care to pregnant women and mothers. And I would urge all members to really take it right up to the grassroots level, because then only with the hard work that the group has done be really fruitful, because unless we are able to make a difference at that level, we would not have achieved our goals. So I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks again, as always, for being here, for your supportive words. Like all of us know, we keep looking, the whole country just keeps waiting to hear Dr. Guleria sort of make his almanac prediction, and everybody keeps waiting. And as the latest ones come out, I know a lot more will depend on people's behaviors in the next 2 weeks, in terms of our festivals and several things. But I think, sir, like you very, very rightly addressed, I think this area of being very specialized, whether it is for adult care versus pediatrics versus neonates versus OBGYN, has truly given a lot of change in perspective. At least as we are hearing from states, and we are definitely hearing, a change in perspective. It is not one COVID care for all. It's truly different now for the different, groups, particularly for the groups of patients that are different. And even pediatrics versus neonatology, it's not the same. It's so different. And we have learned that as we have been sitting here and creating this along with the experts. CPR is so different. We have now 5 CPR modules, one for adults, one for OBGYN, children, neonates. So it's so different, and there is a lot to be done. So it is truly learning for even the doctors at the ground level, not just because of COVID, but it's a whole new way of clinical information that has come out. So thank you again, sir. We are very, very greatly grateful for all of the efforts and the leadership. I'm so glad that Jayanti Madam has joined us today from GOPC. Really, what we will see here is the learning management system of the GOPC, called the Integrated Government Online Training Platform, launched by the Honorable Prime Minister more than a year ago, and we trained several lakh people using this last year successfully. But we have to now take this a lot more further. So without further ado, Madam Jayanti, if I can please request you to share the vision of GOPC for this, and also maybe take us through a small module using your team members, so perhaps everybody else can also see how to use it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kavita ji. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Guleria. And I have seen how passionately Dr. Deorare and his team has worked so passionately to bring in all these modules, be it pediatrics, be it neonatology, be it Ayush. All these modules have come out really in a well thought out manner. So I wish all success to the team, and I also wish all these modules reach the right person at the in this time, and which will help all the frontline workers to be much well equipped for the COVID pandemic. So, as Kavita ji had mentioned, I request Shreya to show the demo for the iGot Diksha platform, please.
Thank you,
Over to
ma'am.
Shreya.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I am just sharing my screen. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yes, Shreya.
Okay, so I will just quickly walk you through the iGot platform, how we log in, how we register, and then how can we access a module on the platform, and ultimately complete the course and generate certificate. So this is the URL for iGot. Once we reach this URL, we click on Explore Courses. After clicking on Explore Courses, you get a pop-up. In this pop-up, there are three items that it is asking us to fill. In bold, you should type I got health. There is only one option. It should always be I got health. Medium can be anything, whatever medium is convenient for you. Usually, I choose English and Hindi. This means that what language courses it will display when you log into the platform. Class is what category of COVID warrior you belong to: nurses, doctors, police. So you can select the COVID warrior category that it is relevant for you. Once we click that, we click on submit. We get another pop-up here. I usually select others. You can just click on others. Now this is the platform. In order for me to join any course or enroll in any course, I need to first log into the platform. So how do I log in? On the top right hand corner, you can see a circle. When we click here, there is a button called login. So I click on login. Now I have a email ID, I have a login ID and password, so I can directly log in. But those of you who are coming to the platform for the first time, I would request you to please register. There's a link here called register here. We click on register here. And we just fill the form like it is asking us to, our year of birth, name, and you can register using either your mobile number or email address, whichever is more convenient for you. Choose a password and then you can register. Once you are registered, you have your username and password. Go back to the login page and use your username and password. I'll now log in using my username and password. Now this is the home page. I have arrived at the home page of I Got Diksha platform. On the left hand side, you can see there are some filters. Now these filters will enable you to see different courses which are relevant for you. So in the board, always select I Got Health. In medium, whatever language course you want to see. If you want to see courses in English and Hindi, select English and Hindi. You can also select multiple other languages. I can click on Bengali. It will show me lessons which are there in Bengali also. But right now I just want to see English and Hindi courses. So I'll just click on English and Hindi. So to deselect any of them, just click that button again and it will get deselected. To select, just click that button again, it will get selected. In classes, you can select any classes. For example, right now I will select doctors. And I will deselect nurses. So I will see all the lessons which are tagged to doctors. So as you can see, there are all different kind of lessons here that are available for your user. I will just open one lesson and we can go through the module. For example, I'll click this lesson. So this is a lesson that is uploaded, COVID-19 history taking and physical examination. Now in order to join this course, I'll click on this button, join course. This button will only be activated once you are logged in using your credentials. So it's very important that you register and create a login credential for yourself. Now you have logged in, you can see there are different modules in this course. So every course has, it's a combination of either videos and PPTs, or it has only videos or only PPTs. Most of the lessons that you'll find on the platform are a combination of both videos and presentations. There are also MCQs at the end of the lesson, which you can take to complete the course. So for example, I just click on the first module. And I can just scroll through the presentation. Once I have completed the presentation. So I have completed this module. Now I can go to the next module from this button. As you can see on the right hand side, there is a button called next module. And this is the second module. If I want to go back to the lesson, I click on back. Now this is the lesson. As you can see, my course progress has been updated because I have completed a couple of modules. When you have completed all the modules and taken the assessment, then only it will show 100% completed. Once you have done that, you can download your certificate. Now how to do that? Again, you go to top right hand corner and go to profile. Here you'll see a history or list of all the lessons that you are currently undertaking or you have undertaken. So as you can see, there are currently many courses which are showing as ongoing. So this means that I'm currently undertaking all these lessons. I have not completed it. But there are also some lessons which I have completed for which I can download the certificate. So from here only a download certificate button will be available. You can just click here. And the certificate is available. Now you can go back to the platform again. If you need to go back to the home page, just click on this button, courses, and you're back at the home page and you can access other courses. So as you can see, the process itself is very easy and smooth for you to register and log in. There is also a Diksha app available on Google Play Store. You can log in, and it's the same process to register and log in, and you have all the lessons available on the mobile app as well. And there's a QR code functionality also available in the app. So I would request all of you to download the app or log in using your laptop or a computer and register yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya. I believe people on YouTube were unable to see this fully. I think there's probably a little bit of lag. Also, Dr. Devari, if I can request you all to please share the set screen again with all of us so we can be at NIT and everybody else can also see you all. So if that screen can be turned on, Dr. Devari, that will also be great for the participants as well. Shreya, while Shreya is just finishing up, I just wanted to share again with everybody else that part of what I got able to do is you can actually use your phones. Like she mentioned, I don't know how many of you caught that, but particularly for busy doctors who are all going in here and there and may not have the time to sit on a computer, for example, and be looking through some of these. Using a QR code, you can simply scan, like we scan a menu nowadays, to go to outside somewhere, or you scan for movie tickets, or you scan anywhere available for any of the Google Pay facilities. You can virtually use your phone and scan this particular code, and you can make sure that the courses are downloaded. So we have a separate set of codes for the doctors, separate for specialists, for nurses, etc. So that's how this process works, and it's fairly simple for people to go and get a certification as well. It's a record of completion. We won't call it a certificate because certificate implies that it is an extra qualification. That's not what it is, but it will be a record of completion. So we can see you now, Dr. Devari, on your own screen, but I think I'm sure the second screen will come on as well. And you can see Dr. Nisha now. So yes, so that's great. We are now coming to the most important part of this discussion, because all of this was setting the stage for really what everybody wants to hear, which is obviously the content that is being developed and the modules that have come up. And I don't think we can. In fact, my joint secretary just messaged me, Madam Okari Muni, who just joined. She's actually joint secretary for medical education, and she is expressing her. She's unable to join today, but she's barely joined a week ago, and she's already fully briefed on this, and extremely grateful also, ma'am. And I want to share that with you on behalf of the ministry. We are very, very grateful for the technical comments and the input. And so, really, Dr. Nisha Bhatla's leadership on this, in getting together all the best of the best, in coming together and bringing this together, along with obviously her strong member secretary, Madam Aparna, to pull this together and do this. We are extremely grateful, because clearly we could not have done this, all the technical work. And so for your gratitude, full of gratitude, ma'am, for doing that. And so without any further ado, I turn this session over, the technical session over to you, ma'am, for taking us through how you all work through this process, some of your own thoughts, and then, also chairing this session for the 4 major presentations that we will be having today. Over to you, Dr. Nisha. Again, we need no introduction, so I will not even bother, but really turn this over to you for sharing this story. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Kavita. It's truly my pleasure to be here today, and I would like to thank Dr. Devari and Dr. Randeep Guleria for involving us as well and allowing us to spend a lot of time and energy on developing these modules. And without Aparna's efforts to bring everything together, I don't think it would have been feasible. But very importantly, I would like to thank Dr. Shanta Kumari for bringing FOGSI on board in this effort, because we know the importance of having synergized action for more than 35,000 obstetricians around the country. And I think the beauty of this exercise has been the way we have managed to work in record time to look at a variety of issues along with various stakeholders so that they are synergized. And I appreciate Dr. Devari's effort in this, so that we are looking holistically at the pregnant woman from the point of view of her care, the baby's care, the critical care, and so on. And as we have developed the modules, there are references to the relevant modules from elsewhere, so that people have the opportunity to turn to whichever aspect of care they feel there is some lack on. So I think also for this, this is one of the few times I think where we are not working in silos and doctors doing their own thing and nurses doing their own thing and the paramedical worker doing their own thing. I think we've all come together to see that we agree, and it is in record time that this disease has made us have a rapid response of quick learning, quick action, and quick changes. Some people have actually objected and said, how can you have so many versions coming of the care? But it has been a response to the evolving data, the evolving experiences that have been compiled in these versions to bring the latest. So I will just take you briefly through what has been the methodology here that we have followed in this thematic expert group on obstetrics, which had the first meeting in on July 20th. And we had the group members being briefed on the deliverables. The modality for group discussions for sharing information within the groups was then finalized, and mutually agreeable and achievable responsibilities were distributed to the individual members. The available material for each of the lessons was reviewed, and the lessons for the thematic group drafted. Now, the final content for each of these lessons was shared for peer review, standardization, and acceptance. And it was amazing how there is really no words to thank enough the experts who have such busy schedules and put time aside to be able to sit there and looked meticulously to respond to each and every sentence, all the principles of distance education, all the care to see that there would be a clear message and clear understanding by someone sitting afar and following the lesson. And then the coordination with the designing IGOT team for preparing the final drafts in this beautiful fashion that you now see. And they all follow a similar style. They all tell you very clearly what you can expect to learn, who it is for. They end with clear messages to take home. And now finally, with these beautiful designs, we have lessons on the public portals through the core coordinating team. So this is the list of the experts, and many of them are here on this program today. I've already mentioned Aparna Stellar Rowe as the member secretary. We also had Dr. Amiya Mehta from Gujarat, Dr. Chitra Gelande, Dr. Dhanya Krishnan from Kerala, Dr. Girija Wagh from Pune, Dr. Goli Mahalakshmi from Hyderabad, Dr. Manju Puri from Lady Hardinge Medical College in Delhi, Dr. Nalini Anand from Jamnagar, Dr. Nilima Singh from Nizamabad, Dr. Niranjan Chavan from Mumbai, Dr. Pratima Mittal from Delhi, Dr. Rakhi Chandran from Kerala, Dr. Vijaya from Chennai, Dr. Shanta, of course, everybody knows, from Hyderabad, Dr. Tulika Jha from Kolkata. So you can see that we have got people representing North, South, East, West, and a variety of backgrounds, including the medical colleges, including some of the private sector institutions, and including people representing government and the stakeholders from there. And these are the topics that have been covered in this thematic group: facility preparedness during the COVID pandemic, optimizing antenatal care, including the COVID negative women, as Dr. Guleria rightly referred to, labor and delivery in women with suspected or confirmed COVID infection, postnatal care, family planning services, and abortion services in the COVID pandemic. And we know how much these have been neglected. Management of mild, moderate, and severe disease in pregnancy, CPR in the pregnant woman, position and awake proning, fetal concerns in management of COVID infection in pregnancy. Very importantly, COVID vaccination in pregnant women, an area that hesitancy still remains, care of the pregnant healthcare workers, and common COVID complications intrapartum and postpartum. Now we need to see how we can get these utilized by public and private facilities Translation into the regional languages will be important to have universal utilization, development of hybrid modules with online content and offline skill training facilities going forward, and expansion of the content to include relevant non-COVID content as well. So with that, once again, I thank you for this opportunity today and hope that we are able to carry this task forward.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much again for taking us through so beautifully on sort of the processes that you followed. Again, for the members that you were able to really work together from across the country. I think we were able to get these experts, but in order to really get all the perspectives from everybody and weave it in like a tapestry is really an art. And so thank you to both of you, to you and to Dr. Aparna for leading this, of course, along with Dr. Shanta Kumari here, of course, and the whole team of experts that are here. I don't think we can say this enough. And I know that we have now again the next sessions that we are going through. So however best you would like to take it through, ma'am, in terms of the lessons. Maybe Dr. Aparna, if you are talking about it, then we could probably go through those.
So a very good afternoon to all of you, and we will be, like as it has been listed in the agenda, we will be discussing very briefly the overview of some of the important topics, and for that we first start with the antenatal care. So for that I would like to invite Dr. Vijaya. Dr. Vijaya is here. Dr. S. Vijaya.
Yes, Aparna. Yes, Aparna.
Yes. Ma'am, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, so I will be, just going through the slides. So just let me know when you want to, change the slide.
Good afternoon, everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank Shanta Kumari ma'am. Very happy and privileged to be a part of this thematic group, and Dr. Neeraja ma'am, and of course Aparna for coordinating this session. And I just want to tell you the objectives of this antenatal care. Women, and we minimize the number of visits for the COVID and non-COVID pregnant women. The antenatal visits has to be reduced, and of course the importance of vaccination, and also how are we going to manage a suspected and confirmed COVID infection. And this module is for the professionals, for the nurses, for the healthcare workers and Ayush people, and also for the VHNs and urban health nurses. Next slide. Yeah, we should have a proper instruction to the pregnant. They should be aware of the COVID signs and symptoms, and the most important is they should decide the designated place of delivery early in the third trimester. Also, we should stress about the importance of getting vaccinated for COVID, and also the telecommunication facilities is available, that all those emergency number should be made to, all the pregnant women should be aware of the number, and of course the COVID appropriate behavior should be followed. Next. So the vaccination of pregnant women and little mother, though it was a delayed start, it has been going in full swing, and we have almost 100 crore vaccination throughout India. The days are not far ahead. Maybe by next week we will be completing. So far we have completed 90 crore vaccination, and the mothers and the high-risk mother should be there 3 months ahead. So COVID pandemic, only 4 visits, but if they have missed it by 3 weeks or more, they should be contacted by either the ANM or by the medical officer. Told earlier, the route of transport very important, and the place of delivery, and the dedicated ambulance services for the COVID pregnant mother must be ensured. And of course, earlier I told the video conferencing and teleconferencing plays a major in this COVID pandemic. Next slide. Aparna, next slide. Excuse me. Aparna?
Dr. Aparna, can you shift the slide, please?
Excuse me. Yeah. So at each visit, as usual.
Okay.
12 weeks, 20 weeks, 28 and 36 weeks. These are the 4 times we are asking the mother to come. Of course, if it is high risk pregnancy, followed separately, having the list, and all the infection prevention protocol should be followed as usual for a non-pregnant patient, and the new plays a major role. And next slide.
Right. Can you see this, ma'am?
About COVID appropriate behavior should be followed for all the pregnant women. Next slide. So the pregnant woman should be properly followed. The healthcare workers must be aware of the high-risk pregnancy and all the signs and symptoms. This is similar to a non-pregnant adult. Tell them where to come, how to triage. That is very, very important. And also the transport facilities, which we are finding it so difficult during the COVID time. It really paved so much of a dedicated ambulance for transporting the pregnant mothers. And also, whenever the patient come in, we have to give the patient a surgical mask. Next one. So this is always when the patient is asymptomatic, we can advise them home quarantine. They have all the facilities to be isolated. They have a separate restrooms and separate room facility. Else, it's better to admit the patient and keep them under 5 days at least. And any other infection prevention and all the drugs and everything is same for the non-pregnant women, and vaccination even during pregnancy is not contraindicated. Next. So the take-home message main slide. Yeah. So the general population vaccination and teleconferencing and video conferencing facilities should be advocated to provide quality care during this pandemic, and ASHA workers, village health nurse and the urban health nurse should be made available for home visits and telecommunication. Triaging is very, very important, and each facility should have own COVID care to handle the suspected and confirmed COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for covering that. And the entire idea of presenting this overview is that there is a lot of content in the antenatal care module, which can be accessed through the iGOT as has been described. Now, for the next module, I would request Dr. Mahalakshmi, ma'am, are you able to connect?
The next module being on labor and delivery in women with suspected or confirmed COVID infection. I'm not sure if she is being able to connect or not, Aparna.
Yes, ma'am. So, should I?
Yeah, I
you
think
can
we can
quickly
I think
quickly
we
go
can.
through.
Right. So in this particular module about labor and delivery, we describe the general preparedness which is required, timing of delivery.
You have shared the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Dr. Aparna, may I interject for 1 minute, please? We are also checking YouTube links here, and they are unable to see that the slides are a little bit slower there. I think there is a lag on the slide. So, can you hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. Now can you see the slides?
Just give us 10 seconds to check this, please, because we're also doing a YouTube check to just make sure that it is seen. Otherwise, we will share it from this end. Vivek, can you confirm for me if the screens are checking, visible on YouTube as well, please?
Yes, I think we can see the slides quite well now.
Okay, I think we can move forward, ma'am. Thank you.
So in this module about labor and delivery, we discussed the general principles of preparedness, which is required for delivering a woman, what should be the timing, basic principles of intrapartum care, and the care around birth. So this topic is divided into these 4 segments. Among the general preparedness, it is always important to tell the mother that they should call the maternity in advance, use private transport, restrict the number of attendants, and how should the facility be prepared to receive a COVID positive or a suspect woman in labor. The next part is about assessment. So what should be the basic maternal and fetal assessment in the triage area as soon as a woman comes? And if there is some concern, the lady needs to be admitted. But if there are no concerns, we can even consider sending them home for a home isolation. The timing of delivery is very, very important, because early on we used to feel that COVID is an indication for delivery. But right now it is very important to understand that Between 37 to 38 weeks and 6 days, if there is an indication for termination, we should go ahead. But otherwise, if there is no indication for termination, pregnancy and can be continued with a good antenatal care. At 39 weeks or more, if the woman is asymptomatic, then we terminate as per local protocol. But for a moderate or a severe disease, it needs to be assessed with a multidisciplinary team management. The induction of labor and the intrapartum labor principles almost remain the same, except for some of the monitoring which needs to be stringent in terms of the maternal monitoring. The care during labor is absolutely the same as we would provide. However, oxygen monitoring with saturation monitoring needs to be instilled into the monitoring protocol and looking for the danger signs. During labor, electronic fetal heart rate monitoring is recommended. During various stages of labor, we have to be managing it actively, and especially if the mother is very tired, then maybe we need to shorten the second stage of labor. Active management of third stage of labor is recommended. Analgesia and anesthesia is to be given. Epidural can be recommended, and GA is to be given only in respiratory compromise. Assessment of severity at all stages need to be done by simple measures like a systolic blood pressure and a respiratory rate, and a probably altered level of consciousness when we would require an admission to ICU. The mode of delivery need not change. It should be according to obstetrical indications unless the mother is severely ill. Delayed cord clamping is recommended. Skin to skin contact is to be done if the baby is well. So, take home messages: vaginal delivery is the preferred mode of delivery. Routine management of labor, CS only for obstetric indications. No specific medical treatment for asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. COVID positive status is not an indication for termination of pregnancy, and planned or indicated induction of CS need not be postponed. So that is all about this module. And now I would like to request Dr. Manju Puri ma'am to talk about the postnatal care in these women.
So thank you, Aparna. And it was indeed a great pleasure to be a part of this important initiative. And thank you, Dr. Durrari and Dr. Neerja and Dr. Shanta for having me on board. And IGOT has done a lovely work. I'm to say we just provided the matter and they've set it so beautifully and in a very presentable manner. Well, now we know that postpartum, I'll be briefing you about the postpartum care module. Wherein we know that this is the most important and critical part in the lives of the mother and the newborn. And the learning objectives of this module are to describe the monitoring of a postnatal COVID suspect or positive mother, and to list the postnatal advices to be given to a COVID positive mother, discuss the breastfeeding and rooming in of newborn babies born to these mothers, describe the assessment and immunization of the newborn of COVID suspect or positive mother, discuss the rationale and prescription of postpartum thromboprophylaxis, discuss the contraceptive advice, and list the danger signals, both postnatal and COVID related in these mothers and newborns, and discuss specific counseling on follow-up visit. So we know it is meant for all levels, ranks and profiles of healthcare providers. Now, we've already said that this is the most critical time because majority of the, deaths in the mothers and newborn babies would happen during this period. So we really need to support the women in this part. And then, how to monitor these mothers is what is described in this module. And when should we be discharging them? Quite often, the things were not clear when to discharge them. So we can discharge them as early as 24 to 48 hours and cesarean after 3 to 4 days. Then it also describes very beautifully all the components of postnatal advice. So some are the routine ones, but in keeping in mind the COVID scenario, so it does take into account the things which need to be monitored for a COVID positive woman. And then it very beautifully describes the rooming in and the breastfeeding precautions, while the mother is breastfeeding the baby, what precautions should she be taking? And for how long should the precautions be taken? So for 10 days till the patient becomes, if an asymptomatic patient has been positive after 10 days, we would say that they have to use the precautions. Then the assessment of the newborn also becomes important, when to test the newborn. So this describes all about that. The next, please. Thromboprophylaxis is something which everyone stays, confused as to what to give for how long. So this module gives all the details regarding which patients to be given thromboprophylaxis for how long. And postnatal contraceptive advice is something which is a very important component of postnatal care. So this module will guide regarding the use of PPIUCD, long-acting reversible methods, and other methods, bridging methods, all those it gives. We all know that COVID has actually affected adversely the postnatal mental health, which was a neglected portion even before this, but this has brought this aspect of postnatal care to the forefront. And this module very beautifully describes as to what are you supposed to do to assess the postnatal mental status. And of course, the danger signs, we all know the postnatal period related danger signs, but it also highlights things like inability to tolerate oral fluids, confusion, chest pain, and unremitting fever. So all these have also been given together so that the healthcare provider will make sure that he or she sensitizes the woman to both these important components. Yeah. Next, please. So the take-home messages from this module would be respectful maternity care must be at the forefront of care providers, because postnatal period was the one which was most neglected. After delivery, the patients were left alone. Then postnatal care needs to be individualized according to the mother and the newborn needs. Breastfeeding is not contraindicated. Proper respiratory and hand hygiene is to be followed. So it gives instructions as to what mother is supposed to follow while breastfeeding. And strengthening postnatal care for mothers through face-to-face, that is home visits and health facilities, also from remote postnatal contacts have been emphasized in this module. So I'm sure that after anyone goes through this module, the person would be empowered to take appropriate and respectful care of the mothers and the newborns after the delivery. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. This is another, loaded content which really needs to be accessed. Now, for the last content, I would like to request Dr. Niranjan to please talk about the most, much sought after topic, COVID vaccination in pregnancy.
Thank you, madam. It's a great honor to be here sitting amongst the luminaries of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and All India Institute of Medical Sciences, along with the director and the head of the department of AIIMS, Dr. Neerja Bhatla, Aparna Sharma, and all the colleagues who have contributed today for this course. I would like to thank Dr. Shanta Kumari also, who was just being there with us for spearheading FOXY. And I agree with Dr. Neerja Bhatla that 36 to 38,000 gynecologists will take the benefit of this module. So briefly to speak about COVID vaccination in pregnancy and lactation, it is very important that we have to understand the learning objectives. It is available for the doctors, medical students, intern nurses, and the nursing staff. And it explains properly the use of vaccination, what are the indications, what are the contraindications, the side effects, and the practical aspects. Next slide, please. So the topic overview has the details which I have already explained, that is overview, the risk and benefits of COVID vaccination, contraindications, the side effects, and most importantly, the counseling and the take-home message. Next slide. So we should understand what is the rationale of using it in mother and its effect, and what is the effect of COVID infection on the fetus. So 90% of infected pregnant women recover. They don't have any problems. However, only few of them can undergo rapid deterioration and they might require admission in the ICU. They have a chance of having preterm labor, preeclampsia, and they might need a cesarean section, and worst eventuality is death. But symptomatic pregnant women appear to be at an increased risk. That's what we have to understand. Well, on the fetus, 95% of the fetuses of born to COVID-19 positive mothers are usually in a good condition, but they can be having preterm labor, hospitalization, and the mortality is also seen in that 5% of cases. Next slide, please. So briefly, I think this is a very common topic which has been covered. There are some 8 vaccines which are available in India presently in various stages of trial. But most importantly, what we are having is Covaxin and Covishield, which is there available approximately from 78 to 66.7%. Next slide. Well, if you differentiate, both are manufactured in a different way, but most important is that Covaxin is an inactivated viral vaccine, while the Covishield is a viral vector platform. And the temperature storage is the best part. The infection after the second dose is 0.04% in Covaxin, while in the Covishield it is 0.03%. But we have to understand and explain the patient who comes to us during pregnancy and lactation that there are going to be some local side effects and there could be systemic side effects to certain extent, which he has to be very prepared of, for which he might get mild fever, some headache, and that needs to be addressed beforehand. In the worst scenario, there could be some serious effects, and it is a very, very rare situation. But the benefits outweigh that of the risks. And those benefit is that it will reduce the severe disease. It will not cause to that extent the pneumonic patch in our lungs. There is also a reduction in the risk of preterm births. Also, the reduction in the transmission of COVID-19 is seen in the mothers. So the common concerns what we are there will be depending upon that. Yes, it can be given anytime. It can be also given to women who are planning for a child, and during the fertility workup, they can take the vaccine. There is no problem with that. They can also take during breastfeeding, during the lactation period. It is safe. So this is what we need to be addressing. And during pregnancy, it can be also administered along with the tetanus toxoid. But following vaccination, they need to have and maintain COVID appropriate behavior. That is, wear your mask, maintain physical distance, wash your hands repeatedly with soap and water. And that's very important. So in short, any woman who is above 18 years of age, she is pregnant, is now eligible as per the guidelines of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Even symptomatic women have to be really dealt with proper care. There is an increased risk in them and there could be adverse reactions to her and the fetus. So we need to also have that awareness that any woman who is above 35 years, obese woman, any underlying medical condition has an increased risk of COVID complication, and that has to be explained to the patient. But it's quite safe to be given during any time of pregnancy. And in case the woman has been infected during pregnancy of COVID, she can get vaccinated after the delivery, and it's quite safe. Minor side effects are there, which is pain, fever, injection site, feeling unwell for 1 or 3 days. That can be tackled with the local medications like NSAIDs, and the long-term effects adverse on the mother and the fetus and the safety of the vaccine still is not established, and we will await for further trials. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present in front of all the August audience and the gatherings who have been there today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Niranjan, and thank you to all for this overview. So I think you will agree with me, friends, that there is a lot of knowledge that has been distilled into very crisp and simple messages. The slides are very easy on the eye, beautifully designed, not overloaded with any unnecessary data. And we truly hope that these are going to be successful, but we do look forward to receiving your feedback when you use these and how we can make them better and better going forward. And now I will hand it over to Dr. Aparna Sharma for an interactive discussion with our faculty.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. We will just have this last session where we're going to just ask some of the common queries that are there in our minds regarding COVID and reproductive health. I would not say pregnancy, but we will cover some aspects of reproductive health as well. So I would request our experts to unmute themselves and just answer for the benefit of our audience, just briefly, whether, so I would first request Dr. Nilima Singh, ma'am. So should all COVID positive women be admitted?
Thank you, Dr. Panna. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And no, we don't have to.
Right. So yes, I mean, a part of it will be covered in the module. So this is like an entry into the modules, which we would be reading later once you access them. So Dr. Rakhi, would you like to tell us, like, should all COVID positive women with moderate to severe disease be delivered?
Thank you, madam. Timing of delivery, I think, should be depending upon the severity of the disease for maternal resuscitation or other obstetric indication.
Right. So thank you for that point. And we do have a cutoff of around 32 weeks where we feel that beyond 32 weeks, if it is a severe disease, we might need to deliver that lady. So again, a multidisciplinary management would be required. Dr. Rekha is not here today. We were asking her about the role of proning in a pregnant woman with moderate to severe COVID. Yes, I mean, we have seen that even in a pregnant woman, it is possible to do proning, although the technique needs to be very, very specific, for which it is important to have some training. So again,
Aparna, unmute yourself.
Hello.
Dr. Aparna, we are not able to hear you. Can you unmute yourself, please? Dr. Aparna, are you able to hear me?
What's the
connect
problem?
होगा तो होगा.
Okay, change now, slide.
Okay, so is my slide visible now?
Yes,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can see the slide.
Yes. So
I
we
can
are
see it on this. Yes.
Yes, so I'm actually on 4. Dr. Nalini, if you can hear me, you can just answer like that.
Yes, yes.
So
Thank
what
you,
would be
ma'am.
You can stop the slide.
And the healthcare providers, we all understand by, are not only the doctors treating the patients, but also the paramedics, the ANMs, the Anganwadi workers, everyone, ASHA workers as well. And the advice that we need to give them is nothing different from what we give to the other patients. That is, apart from being very careful about social distancing and following the COVID appropriate behavior, the healthcare pregnant providers have to be very, very careful in the sense that they are at more risk of contracting the diseases. And if they are less than 28 weeks pregnant, then with due precautions, they may pull on and try to be as much careful as they can. And if they are beyond 28 weeks, then it is very much advisable to them to be at a position from where they can work from home and take due precautions. They should not, nevertheless, ignore any symptoms of COVID, which are the same as in the other patients.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Nalini, for bringing that up. And this has been really described well in that module also. So the next question is for Dr. Pratima Mittal, ma'am. What are the concerns for the fetus in the maternal COVID infection? We have been talking so much about the mother. So what about the fetus?
Yeah, thank you, Aparna. Thank you for making me a part of this team. Basically, when you talk of the concerns of fetus, it is very important for all the healthcare worker to be very clear about it, so that the counseling which they are doing to the pregnant woman about her anxieties, about her the infection is very, very clear, and the answers they give are the evidence based and standard answer. The first, so if you talk of the concerns in the first trimester, second trimester, that way I will be talking in short. First trimester, very important, that COVID infection per se will not lead to increased chances of abortion. But one has to be clear and tell them clearly that this is not an indication of medical termination of pregnancy. We should all know that does not lead to any teratogenic effect in the fetus, the COVID infection. So there is no need for offering termination of pregnancy for only for COVID sake in pregnancy. Second thing is, in second and third trimester, we have to explain to them that there are increased chances of preterm birth, but the care has to be taken as per other non-pregnant patient, as per pregnant patients who are COVID negative. So most of the things, if you can just show me, I mean, I can summarize just that: no chances of increased abortion, no chances of teratogenic effect, no chances of drugs which are used in the pregnancy for COVID infection generally do not lead to any adverse effects on the fetus, and vaccination also does not lead to any adverse effect on the fetus. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Very nicely summarized all of the points which are really bothering when we consider the outcome on the fetus. So going to the next question, Dr. Girija ma'am, which method of contraception is safe in a COVID positive woman who's just delivered? So in the postpartum period. So what would you advise? You know, if she's COVID positive, would you go for sterilization, or what would you do at this point in time?
It wouldn't be advised to do sterilization. It's too permanent. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
what would be actually, if it's possible, it's always better to offer her an intrauterine contraceptive device. That would be an ideal thing to do, so that she is free to look after her baby and we have an assured contraception being delivered to her.
Right, ma'am. Thank you for that very clear message that IUCD is not contraindicated in a COVID positive women. Maybe sterilization as an elective
Or is
procedure
not
can be
fit for an IUCD.
Yes.
As an
Thank you,
elective
ma'am.
procedure.
Right. So thank you, ma'am. And now we come to one of the little controversial kind of a thing where we have so much of teleconsultation happening, so many virtual clinics happening. But the question that comes to our mind is, can we prescribe medical method of termination virtually? So I would request Dr. Tulika Jha to tell us about it.
Yes, we can. To start with, if am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Tulika, you're just breaking up a bit, but you are audible.
Okay. So as far as medical method for termination of pregnancy is concerned, there are two things. First is the legality of it, and then is the medical part, the medication part of it. So first, I'll just say shortly about both the aspects. First is, as we all know, in medication abortion, we are supposed to see a patient 3 times. One is on day 1, then again on day 3, and on day 50. But this is not possible, and we should avoid multiple travels and multiple risks of exposure for the patient when she comes to a hospital setting or a clinical setting. So these medications, these visits can be reduced to 1 visit, and sometimes we may not even call the patient, and we may see her online, do teleconsultation, and can prescribe her the medication online. But before that, we have to be very sure that she is fulfilling all the prerequisites and she does not have any contraindications. We can see her hemoglobin report. If we want to get a USG done, we can see that online. And then when we are satisfied and we are sure, we can prescribe the medicine online. If we have any doubts, we can call her once to the clinic, depending upon the, what we find in her reports and what we find in her clinically. So yes, we can prescribe online, but we have to be careful.
Thank you.
And then we have to see all the reports and everything which need to be done. Now, regarding the legality, that is mainly the consent form. Yes, we have to ask her to fill up the consent form. And what she can do is the patient can scan it and send it to us. Or while teleconsultation, we can see the consent form, Form C, whether it's properly filled up or not. And we can ask for a photograph of that. She can WhatsApp a photograph or scan it and send it to us. And so, and in that way, I think the medical method of abortion can be done,
Dr. Tulika,
legally.
thank you for that. Thank you for that. I would just like to add, like you have said, that pre-prescription counseling can be done, post-prescription follow-up can be done, but preferably it is advisable that the prescription is not given online. So, you've said that in extenuating circumstances, yes, but in general, as a message that should go, it is that, we should not be prescribing empty pills online, because, we are trying, government is trying so hard to set up the COVID facilities and, to actually maintain the services through the COVID pandemic. So I think we should be utilizing that and try and
But
avoid.
we have to reduce the visits. We have to
Yes,
reduce the
definitely.
visits.
As
3
you have
visits is
suggested,
a bit
let
more.
us not have many visits, just a single visit per
Single
prescription,
visit
and the
is- yes.
follow-up should be definitely virtual. So I think that's a very, very important point that we have brought about here. So thank you, Dr. Tulika.
Thank you.
And then the last question is for Dr. Dhanya, where so many patients have actually been denied treatment during this pandemic for 1.5 years. So do you think that infertility treatment needs to be deferred in COVID pandemic, or a planned conception needs to be deferred in a COVID pandemic?
Thank you, madam. No need to defer actually conception or infertility treatment during COVID pandemic. But what we have to do is before taking up infertility treatment, they should be properly screened for COVID, and also they should be properly counseled regarding how not to get COVID before or after pandemic, and also regarding the risk if they contract COVID. That should be done. Needn't defer conception or infertility.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dhanya. And maybe we should encourage them to get vaccinated.
Yeah, that's it.
So I would like to thank all the experts for this important inputs. And I would request Dr. Nirja ma'am to conclude the session.
I think this has been an excellent job done. We have a great feeling of satisfaction that we have. It's cut off.
Can you hear us,
Yes,
Kavita?
yes, we can. We can, ma'am. Please continue.
I have to say that it was done almost on a war footing, and everyone put their best foot forward to try and do as best as they can. But until we get feedback from the users, it will not be complete, and we do look forward to that. And I will once again thank Dr. Deorari for the vision and the support, and hand it back to him.
So thank you, Dr. Nirja Butler, Aparna, and especially Professor Guleria, who gave us the go-ahead that we need to do this for the nation. And I'm so grateful to President Foxy, Dr. Shanta Kumari, who joined us. And in addition, all the experts who have contributed in a short time by creating a global high-class evidence-based e-lessons, which are going to be valid for all the healthcare professionals, be it obstetrician, medical officer, nurses, or the other medical persons, professionals who will take care of patients at home and in COVID care facilities. And I'm also grateful to many of the professional organizations who joined us in the last 2 months for the thematic launches. Indian Medical Association, Foxy is today, Indian Academy of Pediatrics, National Neonatal Forum of India. In addition, we had support from TNI, Indian Nursing Council, and then from Ayush and Allied Services. All the organizations who joined in the last 2 months for rolling out these e-lessons. And what I learned from all this is, all these e-lessons are very simple to understand and to apply for COVID care. They don't teach you intensive care, but they teach you how to take care of a patient who is admitted in a hospital for intensive management, in a ward or a ICU, or a COVID patient at home. So once again, thank you for all your effort, and you all have done this pro bono, selflessly, giving your precious time. I know how busy the obstetricians are, so it's a joint effort by the entire team for creating these lessons for the IGOT. And thanks to the IGOT team led by Srimati Jayanti. Thank you. Kavita, you want to say something?
I'm just going to add, sir, just on behalf of the ministry, and also if we could maybe request all of our experts to please put on your video so we can see you just before we close. It will be nice. I know all of you are there, so maybe if you could, whoever is able to put on your videos, it will be useful because we are recording the session and we are going to put it up on YouTube because there are a few things that we will, so everybody's faces and comments can be seen by when we disseminate it. And again, just to only conclude, I really, on behalf of the HR itself and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, I have to thank my team that has been working sort of round the clock. Also, the team at IGOT, with Shreya is the technical lead there, and Dr. Jain, Rahul Singh, who's the joint secretary there, who have truly been giving us resources and going round the clock in this system. And Dr. Durrari, as you very rightly mentioned, each of you experts who are so fully occupied doing all of the clinical care and the teaching and everything that you do, for the time that you have taken, this is truly a great service on your path to the country. And cannot thank Dr. Neeja Batla for your leadership, ma'am. Thank you. I know how busy and how swamped you are. Thank you also to everybody from Foxy who is here. And Dr. Aparna, you have just been steadfast in chasing everybody for so long, continuously. I know how hard this has been. And we cannot really seriously thank all of you enough. I will only do that again because we as ministry depend on all the technical expertise to really get this forward. And the states are waiting. I have two quick questions that have come to me from some people who are listening. One was that really IGOT related. One was, can we download this content? So Jayanti, I see you here. We have. I will indicate this for the sake of the participants who are listening, that yes, this content can be downloaded, and I know that when they go on and get onto the Diksha platform, they can do that. The instructional video is also being sent to all the states and to all the organizations. So we will share that as well as to how they can do that. Second, is there can I get a certification course after completion? And Shreya did show that, so somebody didn't see it. There is a way you can click on the course. You can even wait midway, but when you complete the course, which means all the sub lessons, you can download a certificate of completion. So each person can get multiple certificates. Depending on how many lessons you do, each lesson will give you a separate certificate of completion. So really encourage you to please spread the word among your professional colleagues as well, everybody that you can. And thank you all so much again from on behalf of all of us for all this work. Dr. Durrari, for your final words, please. And
आप दोनों को ही कर दूं नमस्कार. दोस्तों नमस्ते. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
कर दिया? ये जो है बीच में क्या चक्कर है भाई, क्यों होता है ऐसा?
दिखता क्यों नहीं है हमारा आपका वीडियो? हमारा वीडियो मोस्टली ऑफ था.
नहीं रिकॉर्ड तो हो रहा होगा.
जो आप दिखा रहे थे उसमें सेट फैसिलिटी का वीडियो ऑफ था. लेकिन उनको